That's so bad. It's not even symmetrical. Guys, look at this crap. It's not even symmetrical. Look at this. Compared with that. Compare this. This. With that. That's not even symmetrical. That's so bad. Well, and look at this. Like, look how many columns there are there. And then look at that. Wow, the Doge's palace got completely shafted in the game. Look at this. It's just crap. Alright, let's read about it. Wow. Completely screwed that building up. The Doge's palace, Italian Palazzo Ducale, is a palace built in the Venetian Gothic style and one of the main landmarks of the city of Venice. One of the main landmarks, and what do you do about it? Completely screw it up in game. The palace was the residence of the Doge of Venice, the supreme authority of the Republic of Venice. Opening as a museum in 1923. Well, that's not useful. There's 11 museums in this building today, apparently. In 2010, it was visited by over 1.3 million people in 1 year. That's amazing! Alright, history. Drawing of the Doge's palace, late 14th century. Oh. Oh, interesting. In 810, Doge Angelo Participazio moved the seat of government from the island of Melomocco to the area of the present-day Rialto, when it was decided a Palatum Duci, a ducal palace, should be built. However, no trace remains of that 9th century building, as the palace was partially destroyed in the 10th century by a fire. The following reconstruction works were undertaken at the behests of Doge Sebastiano Ziani, 1172 to 1178. A great reformer, he would drastically change the entire layout of the St. Mark's Square. A new palace was built out of fortresses, one facade to the Piazzetta, the other overlooking the St. Mark's Basin. Although only a few traces remain of that palace, some Byzantine Venetian architectural characteristics can be still seen at the ground floor, with the wall base in Istrian stone and some herringbone pattern brick paving. Political changes in the mid-13th century led to the need to rethink the palace's structure due to the considerable increase in the number of the Great Council's members. The new Gothic palace construction started around 1340, focusing mainly on the side of the building facing the lagoon, the side that got completely shafted in the game. Only in 1424 did Doge Francesco Foscari decide to extend the rebuilding works to the wing overlooking the Piazzetta, serving as law courts and with a ground floor arcade on the outside, open first floor loggias running along the facade, and the internal courtyard side of the wing completed with the construction of the Porta della Carta, 1442. In 1483 a violent fire broke out in the side of the palace overlooking the canal, where the Doge's apartments were. Once again an important reconstruction became necessary and was commissioned from Antonio Rizzo, who would introduce the new Renaissance language to the building's architecture. An entire new structure was raised alongside the canal, stretching from the Ponte della Canonica to the Ponte della Paglia, with the official rooms of the government decorated with works commissioned from Vittore Carpaccio, Giorgione, Elvis Varini, and Giovanni Bellini. Another huge fire in... Wow, there's a lot of fires in this building. You don't want to live in this building. Another huge fire in 1547 destroyed some of the rooms on the second floor, but fortunately without undermining the structure as a whole. Refurbishment works were being held at the palace when on 1577 a third fire destroyed the scrutinio room and the Great Council chamber, together with works by Gentile di Fabriano Pisanello, Elvis Varini, Vittorio Carpaccio, Giovanni Bellini, Pordenone, and Titian. In the subsequent rebuilding work, it was decided to respect the original Gothic style, despite the submission of a neoclassical alternative designs by the influential Renaissance architect Andrea Palladio. However, there are some classical features. For example, since the 16th century, the palace has been linked to the prison by the Bridge of Sighs, as well as the ducal residence. The palace housed political institutions of the Republic of Venice until the Napoleonic occupation of the city in 1797, when its role was inevitably changed. Venice was subjected first to French rule, then to Austrian, and finally in 1866 it became a part of Italy. Over this period, the palace was occupied by various administrative offices as well as housing the Biblioteca Marciana and other important cultural institutions within the city. Or Marciana? I can't figure out the Italian C. Is it chi or is it key? By the end of the 19th century, the structure was showing clear signs of decay, and the Italian government set aside significant funds for its restoration, and all public offices were moved elsewhere, with the exception of the State Office for the Protection of Historical Monuments, which is still housed at the palace's loggia floor. In 1923, the Italian state, owner of the building, entrusted the management to the Venetian municipality to be run as a museum. Since 1996, the Doge's Palace has been part of the Venetian Museums Network, which has been under management of the Fondazione Musei Civici di Venezia since 2008, the Museum Foundation of the City of Venice, I think, or something like that. The exterior, the oldest part of the palace is the facade overlooking the lagoon, the corners of which are decorated with 14th century sculptures by Filippo Calendario and various Lombard artists such as Matteo Reverti and Antonio Bregno. The ground floor arcade and the loggia above were decorated with 14th and 15th century capitals, some of which were replaced with copies during the 19th century. In 1438 to 1442, Giovanni Bon and Bartolomeo Bon built and adorned the Porta della Carta, which served as the ceremonial entrance to the building. The name of the gateway probably derives either from the fact that this was the area where public scribes set up their desks, or from the nearby location of the Cartabum, the archives of the state documents. Flanked by Gothic pinnacles with two figures of the cardinal virtues per side, the gateway is crowned by a bust of St. Mark, over which rises a statue of Justice with her traditional symbols of sword and scales. In the space above the cornice, there is a sculptural portrait of the Doge Francesco Foscari kneeling before the St. Mark's Lion. This is, however, a 19th century work by Luigi Ferrari, created to replace the original destroyed in 1797. Nowadays, the public entrance to the Doge's Palace is via the Porta del Frumento on the waterfront side of the building. Alright, so the Porta della Carta is... hold on. So today, the entrance is from this side. I don't think it's closed now. Is it still open? It was open for the quest, but now it's closed again, I think. Oh, that's kind of sad. We can't go back inside it. Although I think there's a way in. Can we get onto the loggia from here? I'm not sure. I wonder why they didn't allow you to go back in. So I think this... oh, here we go. St. Mark's Lion and all sorts of decoration. I'm not gonna look too closely at it, but there it is. There's the gate. The courtyard. The north side of the courtyard is closed by the junction between the palace and St. Mark's Basilica, which used to be the Doge's chapel. At the center of the courtyard stands two wellheads dating from the mid-16th century. We can't go back inside though. In 1485, the Great Council decided that a ceremonial staircase should be built within the courtyard. The designers envisioned a straight axis with a rounded Foscari arch, with alternate beds of Istrian stone and red Verona marble, linking the staircase to the Porta della Carta and thus producing one single monumental approach from the piazza into the heart of the building. Since 1567, the giant staircase is guarded by Sansovino's two colossal statues of Mars and Neptune, which represents Venice's power by land and by sea, and therefore the reason for its name. Members of the Senate gathered before government buildings in the senator's courtyard to the right of the giant staircase. Not sure how important that is. The Museo dell'Opera. Over the centuries, the Doge's palace has been restructured and restored countless times due to fires, structural failures, and infiltrations, and new organizational requirements and modifications or complete overhaulings of the ornamental trappings. There was hardly a moment in which some kind of works have not been underway at the building. From the Middle Ages, the activities of maintenance and conservation were at the hands of a technical office, which was in charge of all such operations and oversaw the workers and their sites. The Opera, or the Procutoria, I don't know how to pronounce it. After the mid-19th century, the palace seemed to be in such a state of decay that its very survival was in question. Thus, from 1876, a major restoration plan was launched. The plan involved the two facades, and the capitals belonging to the ground floor located in the upper loggia. 42 of these, which appeared to be in a especially dilapidated state, were removed and replaced by copies. The originals, some of which were masterpieces of Venetian sculpture of the 14th and 15th centuries, were placed together with other sculptures from the facades in an area specifically set aside for this purpose, the Museo dell'Opera. After undergoing thorough and careful restoration works, they are now exhibited on their original columns in these 6 rooms of the museum, which are traversed by an ancient wall in great blocks of stone, a remnant of an earlier version of the palace. The rooms also contain fragments of statues and important architectural and decorative works of stone or in stone for the facades of the palace. Okay, well, if you want to see that, you can go visit Venice and then see that. The Doge's apartments, the rooms in which the Doge lived, were always located in this area of the palace, between the Rio della Canonica, the water entrance to the building, the present-day golden staircase, and the apse of St. Mark's Basilica. The disastrous fire in this part of the building in 1483 made important reconstruction work necessary, with the Doge's apartments being completed by 1510. The core of these apartments form a prestigious, though not particularly large residence, given that the rooms nearest the golden staircase had a mixed private and public function. In the private apartments, the Doge could set aside the trappings of officers to retire at the end of the day and dine with members of his family amid furnishings that he had brought from his own house, and which at his death would be promptly removed to make way for the property of the new elected Doge. The Scarlet Chamber possibly takes its name from the color of the robes worn by the ducal advisors and the councillors for whom it was the antechamber. The carved ceiling, adorned with the armorial bearings of Doge Andrea Gritti, is part of the original decor, probably designed by Biagio and Pietro da Faenza. Amongst the wall decoration, 2 frescoed lunettes are particularly worthy of attention, one by Giuseppe Salviati, the other by Titian. The Scudo room has this name from the coat of arms of the reigning Doge, which was exhibited here while he granted the audience and received guests. The coat of arms currently on display is that of Ludovico Manon, the Doge reigning when the Republic of St. Mark came to an end in 1797. This is the largest room in the Doge's apartments and runs the entire width of this wing of the palace. The hall was used as a reception chamber, and its decorations with large geographical maps was designed to underline the glorious tradition that was the very basis of Venetian power. Okay. The 2 globes in the center of the hall date from the same period. One shows the sphere of heavens, the other the surface of earth. The Arezzo room owes its name to Doge Francesco Arezzo, and it's decorated in the same way as the preceding ones. A carved wood ceiling with gilding against a light blue background, and a Lombardy school fireplace. From here, a small staircase leads up to a window that gives access to a roof garden. Oh, that's cool. The Stucci or Priuli room has a double name due to the stucco works that adorned the vault and lunettes dating from the period of Doge Marino Grimani, in the presence of the armorial bearings of Doge Antonio Priuli, which are to be seen on the fireplace surmounted by allegorical figures. I don't know if I should be reading all of this. It's like kind of artwork of the interior, which we can't actually see in game. Institutional chambers. So this, wow, I'm not going to read all of this, by the way. Sorry guys, you can read this yourself in your spare time. So this describes every single room in the Doge's palace. It's amazing. Old prisons, the Bridge of Sighs, and new prisons. Influences. Apparently it's influenced a lot of buildings in other parts of the world. So the Bridge of Sighs, I don't think it's here. In the game, because it's built in 1614. Yeah, no, it's not. It's kind of like a pretty cool bridge, but it's not actually in the game. Alright, can we... just want to try and get inside again. I don't think we can at all. Because, I mean, there's these. You can get up here. You can't get up there. Yeah, no, we can't climb in from this side. I'm pretty sure we can't. And there's like gates on top. Yeah, never mind. We can't get inside from here. Alright, so the next thing we're gonna look at... database. Locations is taking a long time. Campanile, Palazzo Duca, Torre del Orologio. Constructed in the late 15th century as a display of Venice's wealth, the Torre del Orologio displays the time of day, the current phase of the moon, and for those of us who believe that all of human behavior is governed by little shapes in the stars, the dominant sign of the zodiac. According to legend, designers of the clock face were blinded once their work was complete, so they could never duplicate it elsewhere. That sucks for them. While this is probably bollocks, the designers did live inside the clock tower for the rest of their lives to maintain it. The Torre del Orologio ended up serving one very important practical purpose. It was used by sailors in the nearby harbour to time their departures with the tides. Well, that's useful. So let's see if we can find that in Wikipedia. If we can spell it. Orologio. Torre del... oh, here we go. St. Mark's Clock Tower. That's what it's called. So it's there. Let's just walk up to it in the game. Well, the middle part of it is reproduced fairly well. You can see it's pretty much a copy of the thing in real life. It's just the side buildings. No, man, no. What are you doing? What are you doing? Pwned. So the side buildings, unfortunately, are kind of disappointing. But the tower itself is correct as it goes. There. The clock tower in Venice is an early Renaissance building on the north side of the Piazza San Marco, at the entrance to the Merceria. Or Merceria. Wow, it's a big long article again. It comprises a tower which contains the clock and lower buildings on each side. It adjoins the eastern end of the Procuriate Vecchie. Both the tower and the clock date from the last decade of the 15th century, though the mechanisms of the clock have subsequently been much altered. It was placed where the clock will be visible from the waters of the lagoon and give notice to everyone of the wealth and glory of Venice. The lower two floors of the tower make a monumental archway into the main street of the city, the Merceria, which linked the political and religious centers religious center, the Piazza, with the commercial and financial center, the Rialto. Today it is one of the 11 venues managed by the foundation of the Museum of the City of Venice. On a terrace at the top of the tower are two great bronze figures, hinged at the waist, which strike the hours on a bell. Wow. One is old and the other young, to show the passing of time, and although said to represent shepherds, they are wearing sheepskins, or giants, they are huge figures of great mass, necessary so that their form can be recognized at a distance. They are always known as the Moors because of the dark patina acquired by the bronze. The bell is also original and is signed by one Simeone, who cast it at the Arsenal in 1497. Oh, by the way, bell making technology and cannon making technology are closely related. They're both big bronze things that are shaped like cannons or bells. So if the sort of technology for making giant bells went hand in hand with the technology for making cannons, and so this bell was made in the arsenal, which also made cannons for the ships. You see how that works? So they're kind of big bronze tube things. Below this level is the Winged Lion of Venice with the open book before a blue background with gold stars. So you can see the gold stars there. There was originally a statue of the Doge Agostino Barberigo kneeling before the lion, but in 1797, after the city had surrendered to Napoleon, this was removed by the French, who were purging the city of all symbols of the old regime. Below again is a semicircular gallery with statues of the Virgin and Child seated in gilt-beaten copper. On either side are two large panels showing the time, the hour on the left in Roman numerals and the minutes at 5-minute intervals on the right in Arabic numerals. Twice a year at Epiphany, 6th of January, and an Ascension Day, the Thursday 40 days after Easter, counting both days, the three Magi, led by an angel with a trumpet, emerged from one of the doorways normally taken up by these numbers and passed in procession around the gallery, bowing to the Virgin and Child before disappearing through the other door. That's amazing! Below this is the great clock face in blue and gold inside a fixed circle of marble engraved with 24 hours of the day in Roman numerals. A golden pointer with an image of the sun moves around the circle and indicates the hour of the day. Within the marble circle beneath the sun pointer are the signs of the zodiac in gold. These are original and date from the 1490s, which revolve slightly more slowly than the pointer to show the position of the sun in the zodiac. In the middle of the clock face is the earth in the center, and the moon, which revolves to show its phases, surrounded by stars which are fixed in position. The background is of blue enamel. The smaller blue circles in the four corners are not now used. That's amazing! Below the clock is the archway, 2 stories high, through which the street known as the Merceria leaves the piazza on its way to the Rialto. This section of the Merceria is known as the Merceria del Orologio of the clock. The buildings on each side have been let off separately as shops and apartments since the early 18th century. On the other side of the tower there is another great clock face above the arch, visible to people walking down the street towards the piazza. This is a simpler affair, again surrounded by a marble circle marked with the 24 hours, but in 2 series of 12 hours each. The sun pointer marking the hours is the only moving part on this side. That's amazing! It's a really intricate clock. So is that accurate? Does that thing actually move the pointer in the game? Or let me just climb up this thing. Let me just get a closer look at this clock face. If I can get over here. So there should be... No, it's not. Oh, wait, there it is. So the sun pointer is there. It's pointing to 14, which is 2 in the afternoon. Wait a minute, is that real time? Or is it not moving? It's not really moving, is it, in game? The shadows are moving. No, it's not moving. Wait, why did I get injured from that? And on this side, oh, it's the same. That's weird. That's awkward. Alright, so there we go. What else does this have to say? The construction of the tower and the clock. Do we want to read about this? This is quite lengthy. By 1490, an old clock at the northwest corner of St. Mark's Church, the clock of San Alapio, was in a very bad state, and in 1493 the Senate commissioned the construction of a new clock. The making of the clock was entrusted to a father and son, Gianpaolo and Giancarlo Ranieri of Reggio Emilia. In 1495, the Senate decided that a tower to hold the clock should be erected at the point where the street known as the Maceria leaves the piazza. Buildings were demolished to make room for it, and building started in 1496. The design of the tower is generally attributed on grounds of style, though without documentary evidence, to Mario Caduci. The Maceria passes through the archway at the foot of the tower. It is one of the principal streets of the city and leads to the Rialto. Deborah Howard explains how the area was probably derived by Caduci from Alberti's work, Reti Edifactoria, about building, published earlier in the 15th century, where he emphasizes the importance of towers to a city and the appropriateness of a monumental archway as the entrance to its principal street. That's speculation, though, because there's no documentary evidence. The name of the sculptor who modeled the figures of the Moors is not known for certain. They have been most often attributed to Paolo VII, but an article published in 1984 reached the conclusion that the most likely candidate is Antonio Rizzo. They were cast in bronze in 1494 by Ambrosio della Ancore. Again, no actual evidence, but speculation. I guess there must be some evidence, but no definitive evidence. The tower was built during 1496 and 1497, and the mechanisms of the clock was then built into it under the supervision of the Ranieri. No expense was spared in the decoration of the tower and the clock, using quantities of ultramarine and gold leaf. Even the Moors were originally gilded. The inauguration of both tower and clock took place on the 1st of February 1499. Sanudo wrote in his diary for the day that the clock was uncovered and seen for the first time as the Doge was leaving the piazza to go to hear Vespers at Santa Maria Formosa, adding that it was made with great ingenuity and was most beautiful. It is most beautiful. Caduci died in 1504, and the wings on either side of the tower were added by 1506, perhaps to give greater stability to the whole. Barbari's great woodcut of Venice dated 1500 shows the newly built clock tower before the wings were built, rising high above the original 12th century procuriati on either side. These procuriati were lower than the prison buildings, with only one story above the arches on the ground floor, so that the tower then rose high above all the buildings on that side of the piazza. That's not the case now. But back then, the tower was quite significant like that. Wow, look at that. If you can see it on the video, it's kind of grainy and small. The wings are sometimes attributed to Pietro Lombardi, who was later to rebuild the procuriati on the same side of the piazza, but the wings are of no great distinction and more probably designed by Gonella, who was then Proto of St. Mark's buildings manager. The wings were also originally 2 stories lower than today, but the roof at the level with the roof at the level of existing terraces. A drawing by Canaletto shows the tower before the increase in the height of the wings. This makes the tower itself appear higher, so that it makes a more positive statement as the grand entrance to a great city. By 1500, when the final account of the tower was passed, the elder Ranieri had died. It was arranged that his son should remain in Venice to look after the clock, and he was granted flour concessions, which would give him a good income. He lived in Venice until his death in 1531. He was paid in flour. Good luck. You can eat bread for the rest of your life. Alterations to the building clock. Should we look at that? I don't know. It seems okay. Well, let's just do that. Wow, there's a separate article on the clock. Okay, we're not gonna look at the clock. By 1531, after the death of Carlo Ranieri, the clock was already not working properly. It's too complex to maintain. The Council of Ten decided that a permanent keeper must be appointed to live in a wing of the tower and be responsible to keep the clock in working order. Later in 1551, Jacopo Sansovino, then the architect responsible for St. Mark's, was instructed to report on the state of the tower and the clock. Major repairs were required, but by 1581, when his son Francesco published his description of Venice, all appears to have been in order. Well, that was easy. Shortly before 1663, the clock face was cleaned and the blue and gold colors restored like new. Already by this date, the processions of the Magi did not take place daily, but only at certain festivals, and also every hour of the day on every day while the Ascension Day celebrations lasted. They probably had to do it manually, instead of it being like a clockwork that automatically runs itself. They probably had to have someone do it manually, because it broke or something. Because, I mean, it used to happen every single day, like the procession of the Magi. By 1750, both tower and clock were badly in need of repair and restoration. In 1751, Giorgio Messari was employed to restore the buildings. In 1755, work started to add 2 additional floors above the roof terraces of the wings on either side of the tower. Andrea Camarata took over from Messari in 1757. 8 columns on the front of the ground floor were added in that year, presumably for extra strength. I don't know if I really want to read all this, because that's kind of much later than the game and not that useful. Alright, there you go. Well, there's a clock tower with a really fancy clock. Blue and gold. Amazing. Alright, what amazing things are we going to look at next? Database, locations, Venice. How far are we? Are we halfway yet? Probably not. Yeah, we're not halfway yet. Dorsoduro district. A favorite area for artists. Dorsoduro was Venice's festival center. It contains the Square di San Trovaso, where gondolas are constructed, and the Church of Santa Maria della Visitazione. We've looked at that building already. Oops, that's the wrong button. There's some database, locations, Venice, alright. So that's one of the Assassin's Tomb, but we've looked at that already, and we don't actually get to see the inside, unfortunately. Is that right? Yeah, we've looked at that already. The next one, Square di San Trovaso. This small square is used as a boatyard to build and repair gondolas. The chief means of transportation within Venice, gondolas are fashioned out of 8 different kinds of wood: mahogany, cherry, fir, walnut, oak, elm, larch, and lime, and are made of 280 pieces. The left side of the boat is longer than the right side, allowing the gondolier to pilot the gondola from the left without it changing direction. Cool. And ensuring that intoxicated gondoliers don't accidentally hit their passengers in the face with an oar while switching sides. Alright, San Trovaso. Let's see if we can find that. San Trovaso. There's a restaurant and there's a tavern. That's a church. San Trovaso is a church. Oh. The one we want is the square, though. No, what? Alright, database, locations. Huh. Should be examined by a maestro following reports of a recent outbreak. So San Trovaso is a church, but the square is something else. There's no Wikipedia article on this? There's no Wikipedia article on this. Interesting. News from abroad has arrived. There is talk of unrest among the there it is. There isn't. Oh, it's an Italian. It's an okay. But it's not very long anyway, the article. Look at that. So the gondolas are built here. It doesn't look anything like the one in the game. The one in game is there, and it's set up for the carnival. It's a completely different thing in the game. Let's run over there and see if we can see anything that's vaguely familiar. And by run I mean maybe swim. Okay, never mind. I can jump over this. No, get down, man. Alright, so the square actually is across the water, isn't it? Oh yeah, I need to swim anyway. There's not as many bridges. Not as many bridges in this time in Venice as we would like. Alright, let's go. Can we get across here? No. Apparently no, cause you'll just jumped in the water like an idiot. That's better. Can tip this guy over. Pwned! Okay, the square is across the bridge, I believe. Or maybe across the bridge and then a bit further. Or maybe like across another bridge. Oh, there we go. So here's the square in game, but it's kind of occupied for the festival. Let's just get over here. I don't... It doesn't really look like it, does it? No. Well, that's a shame. Let's have a look at that Europe of Visitors. I don't know if it's... Yeah, it's not in Wikipedia. What does that say? Venice has about 400 gondolae in active service, all are made by hand. It looks like that. Yeah, no, it doesn't really look like the one in game. Although, actually, the buildings on the left, not really. Like, no, that's just nothing like it. A typical gondola is built from 9 different types of wood and several hundred parts, including a carved oarlock called a focula and a weighted bow ornament known as a ferro. No, I want to know about the actual place, man. Most of these boatyards are in locations that tourists seldom see, but the oldest and most famous yard, the Square di San Trovaso, is in the heart of the city. Although the square isn't open to the public, anyone can enjoy a view of the gondola craftsmen at work from the opposite bank of the San Trovaso Canal. Okay. This is not open to the public, and these guys are shirts off, making the gondolas. And it's there? Oh, I see. No, it's nothing like the thing in game. Alright, well, let's move on. I mean, it's there, it's just not like what we're finding in the game, that's all. La Rosa della Virtù, located at the crossroads where sex and religion collide. La Rosa della Virtù, the Rose of Virtue, was run entirely by former nuns. The Pope repeatedly attempted to force the Venetian council to shut down the brothel, but it remained open until a fire in 1516 consumed it. Well, that's a suspicious fire. Although the church tried to claim divine intervention, jurists found the fire to have been set by a disgruntled bishop who wanted to lie with one of the girls for free. Okay. Let's see if that's in Wikipedia. La Rosa della Virtue? Nope. Assassin's Creed Wiki, Assassin's Creed Wiki, Assassin's Creed Wiki. Wikipedia? Nope. It's not in Wikipedia. So I don't know. That's the sexy nuns? Nope. That appears to be fiction. That appears to be fiction. I don't know. Sexy nuns. Why would you? No. It's just gonna cheap. Anyway, locations. Castello district. Okay, then we'll run back. The largest district in Venice, Castello grew up around the arsenal. Well, geographically the largest. If you're looking for soldiers, this is the place to go, or if you're more interested in peace and reflection, there's the Church of St. Zaccaria to the south. It's not really all that important or all that informative. San Pietro del Castello. First built in the 7th century, San Pietro di Castello was the seat of the Bishop of Venice. Notice how far away San Pietro di Castello is from the Palazzo Ducale. That distance is not accidental. The Venetian Doges wanted to remain independent from the church. Although San Pietro di Castello itself is nothing remarkable, the tower is the first to be cloaked in Istrian stone from the quarries outside Venice, the same white stone that covers the Palazzo Ducale. Okay. San Pietro di Castello. Let's see if I can spell that. San Pietro di Castello. Church. So there's an island, but there's also a church. I believe that's the one we're looking for. Images? Also, it looks like that. And there's grass. That might not be the right place. Or maybe it is. Nope, that is the right place. There's grass. So over at the let's just run over there for now. So over at the Castello, there's actual open space. No, interestingly, like the poorer part of Venice is also the part that amazingly has open space left in it. And you know that's where it's the military district of the city. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. My bad. Hey, I parried that. What? 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 No, come on. Can we finish this guy off? Come on, hit me. Yeah, there you go. These guys. Fast. Fast, come on. Finish this quickly. No, what? Yeah, I don't think the hammer's actually any better than the sword.
Now, the devil's longing to greet you.
What? Anyway, that was a distraction. What was I saying? Yeah, so over at the arsenal, or at the Castello, there's actually grass and open space. more so than in the more populated areas of Venice.
It must be all the servants. Probably killed for a paltry few coins.
Alright, let's just run over there. And before we read the Wikipedia article. Also, where is this? And there's a poster up there, but it's too far up. Alright, let's keep running. Should be a poster there.
Aren't you a funny monkey?
No, you're a funny monkey. There, here's a funny monkey for you.
Hey, what was that all about?
Maybe I should take a boat. Let's do that. Row. Alright, so where's that church? It's past the... Actually, now that we're doing this, maybe we can get a good view of the Doge's palace and the piazzetta from the water. See, that's cool, right? Maybe we should be doing this more, seeing the city from the water. So there's the two columns, there's a lion, and then there's the other saint. And they just completely botched the Doge's palace. Seriously, look at that. Definitely not as impressive as it is in real life. Let me just quickly... What is that? I thought I saw something on the water. Oh, it's a different boat, I see, okay. So the church, I believe, is that thing there.